Hey, so you're thinking about moving to Las Vegas or Henderson here in Nevada, and maybe you're moving with a family, maybe you've got some small children, some older children, but you're moving as a family unit and you're wondering what are some of the downsides of living in Vegas or Henderson with a family. Well, I've got you back on this video. I don't just talk about the good things, I also give a rounded view and let you know some of the not so good things. And we're going to start right now. So as I said, in this video we're going to talk about living in Vegas and Henderson with a family and some of the maybe things that you might be aware of and could be deal breakers for you, or maybe some of the things that you haven't even considered and could be a deal breaker for you as well. Also, some of these things might not be a deal breaker. I'll try and provide some constructive opinion on it as well from some of the things that I've seen, and then hopefully after that you can make a better decision for you and your family. Obviously, I am a parent myself, so I know exactly what it's like when you're looking up these things and trying to figure out for a move. You might hear my kids in the background. I have 5 kids, ages from 10 to 2. Obviously, school's out for summer now, so they're all at home. It's in the start of July, so we're getting really hot temperatures. It's around 104 degrees now as I speak, so too hot to take them outside. So if you hear them on the inside, then bear with me. They do know to be quiet though, because Dad's filming. But hey, we're going to get after the first point now. So the first point is going to be education. Everyone knows, or I'm sure most of you will already know, that Clark County School District, and that's the school district that covers the whole of the Vegas, Henderson, Boulder City, and some of the other close by cities in Clark County. It covers the whole of the school district for that area. It's a huge area that it covers. That school district is constantly rated as number 49 out of 50, always towards the bottom of the school districts in the country. As a parent, that's obviously alarming. I mean, who in their right mind would look at a school district and go, hey, that's 49 out of 50, at least it's not number 50, let's move there. To add some balance to it though, the Clark County School District is also the 5th largest school district in the whole of the US, and some of those big ones are like in New York and LA, and they have a higher number of schools and pupils within the school. So when you put that into perspective, you can understand that, you know, you could have some good schools and not good schools, and then the balance out could maybe not be a fair balance, because the really bad schools would bring the average down. In my opinion, if they had a separate school district for Henderson and maybe even Summerlin, you'd see Henderson and Summerlin would probably feature quite high on the overall list of school districts. And for me, that makes sense that some of the best schools in the area are in Summerlin and Henderson. It goes without saying. So if you are looking at schooling, I'd say do your research on the likes of niche.com, greatschools.org, and the Clark County School District. So what we did is we looked at the school rankings on those websites and then went on to the CCSD website to see where the zoning was. You know, our kids are in public elementary schools at the moment, and they will probably stay in for middle school and high school, although we're playing with the idea of maybe our oldest going to a charter school because he really likes the STEM-based education. So we are playing with that idea. But that was a big factor in why we chose Green Valley, because the schools around us are all really highly rated. So, you know, I can emphasize with you as a parent, and if, you know, you want more information or you want help figuring out the school district and how I figured it out, or just help on your move here, then all my details are below on the screen. You can pause the screen, take a screenshot, take a note of my details, and then when you're ready, just reach out and we can have this conversation parent to parent. And you know, I've helped a few of you guys out already with deciding about schools and talking about schools and making that a focal point of the area. I always say to choose the area before the home. A big part of choosing that area is going to be the schools, obviously. And as I said, you know, obviously the school district is rated very, very lowly. There are some really good schools. I think some of the best schools within the country are located within Henderson and Summerlin. And it all just comes down to doing your due diligence, doing your research. If you get a chance to go and meet the school administrators, then go and meet them as well. Our kids love it. Our kids love the school that they're in, and they love their teachers. They love their fellow classmates as well. So it's not all bad. I think you got to take it with a grain of salt that, yeah, it's rated highly, but it also covers a greater number of schools. And the really bad schools, I'm not going to name them or name where they are in Vegas. And, you know, we can have that conversation one-to-one if you like. But those bad schools are really going to bring it down for the good schools, and the average won't end up even being a fair average. So yeah, as I said, if you want more information on schooling and I can help you with that at all, then definitely do reach out. The next reason why it might not be a good move for you and your family is going to be the higher cost of living. Now, if you are moving from somewhere like California, New York, Oregon, Washington, and all these other places that do have a high cost of living, then you're going to be on about, Peter, what do you mean high cost of living? We're going to be saving money going to Vegas, and I get that. But if we're looking at the average, Vegas is above the average slightly across the whole of the US. Henderson then is even more above Vegas as well. And there's a lot of factors that play into that. Obviously, our house prices and rent prices are also really increasing. That's not going to slow down anytime soon. It's steadily increasing. It's not a sharp increase. If the rates do come back down towards the end of the year, it might shoot up a little bit more, as there's a lot of buyers waiting on the sidelines for those rates to come down. So if that does happen, then we expect the property market to increase in value even more. Also, according to a recent Review Journal post, the average Nevadian spends around $8,000 a year on grocery shopping, which is the 5th largest amount in the whole of the US. Now, as a parent with 5 kids, I can tell you we definitely spend a lot more than $8,000 a year. I have to actually work it out, to be honest. I'm not really paying attention these days. It's just trying to get as much as we can to fit in the storage that we have, with 5 growing mouths to feed. But 8K a year, that's the 5th largest in the whole of the US. So, if you're grocery and you've got a bigger family, or even if you've got a family in general, it's not just a couple, then you're going to be spending a lot more. You're going to be buying a lot more food. Eating out can sometimes be also expensive as a family, although there are, ways to counteract that, and some places that do offer good value for eating out, especially when you're eating as a family. The sales tax as well here in Vegas is going to be around about 8.5%, 8.8%, which is higher than a lot of states. Obviously, your groceries are not going to be coming under the sales tax, but a lot of the other things that you would buy would also have a high sales tax, and it sometimes catches people out when they see the price and then don't realize that the tax is so high. It catches a lot of people out. I've had a lot of clients say it caught them out when they moved here. Obviously, it makes sense though. Our main money maker for the state is really the tourism and service industry, so that's where we get a lot of the tax money back, as we are very generous on other taxes in terms of property taxes, in terms of no state income tax. So there has to be some sort of balance. It has to come from somewhere, and that is where it comes from. Also, car insurance is probably going to be higher here than where you are moving from. That's down to, obviously, there's a lot of accidents on the road, just a lot of crazy drivers in the Vegas area. Some of those are tourists, some of those are also locals, so it's a mix of people. I'm not blaming anyone in particular, but also, with the amount of crashes that are on our roads, then that is obviously going to put the insurance premiums up, because insurance companies are probably paying out more on an average basis compared to other places. So car insurance is also going to be higher here. And as I said, those things do add up, and that higher cost of living could affect the amount of things that you can do as a family, could affect the amount of, net, income that you have to play with after you, counted all your bills and all your other expenses. It could, stop you going on a vacation. It could stop you buying a season pass somewhere. You could be deciding, between going out to a water park, or have you got enough money for the rest of the month? And I don't want you to be in that situation. So definitely the high cost of living can be an issue. Depending on where you're coming from though, as I said, you might be looking at me at the moment like I have 10 heads, and I get that as well, so don't worry. The next reason why Vegas or Henderson might not be used is the extreme climate. Obviously now at the start of July, we're around the low 100s. We had a record set for the highest amount of days without hitting triple digits, and now we've hit triple digits, and it's definitely hit with a vengeance. I'm definitely, I don't know if it's shown on camera, but I'm definitely feeling the heat, even though I have my AC on at the moment. It's always around the 4th of July as well that it really heats up. So, we act surprised, but I don't know why we're surprised, because it's always around 4th of July that it happens. But that extreme heat is going to limit the amount of things that you can do outside as a family. As I said, my kids are now off school and they're in the house at the moment. I think they're probably watching something on Netflix or playing the Switch, or maybe mom's got them practicing some schoolwork for when they go back to school. But it's just so hard to go out and do things outside at this time of year. There are things to do outside. There's some really cool splash pads. There's some really cool water parks. If you're in a community that has a pool, or you have a pool yourself, then that's going to be a good way to cool down. We actually took our kids out a little bit earlier this morning to a pool, just to get them out to have something to do active in the day, because we knew as soon as it hits around 10 a.m. it's just so hot and so hard to go and do anything. And obviously, making sure if you do go out, make sure you are wearing sun protection. We don't want any skin cancer or anything like that. And also making sure kids are staying hydrated as well, because it's not a humid climate and kids might not feel thirsty. So make sure that you're keeping them hydrated. We have to keep our kids hydrated, and with 5 kids, that's definitely not an easy task, I can tell you that. And as I said, that extreme temperature means that this time of year for 2 months, it's really hard to go out and do something in the daytime. On the flip side of that though, we also get extreme cold. Now, it's not going to be extreme like on the East Coast. I'm not going to say there's going to be snow blizzards and all of that nonsense, but it is going to be quite cold when you consider how hot we get. It's going to be quite cold. You know, we're going to be probably around the low 30s around December, January, February. Sometimes we get a snow flurry. Nothing that Elsa would be proud of in Frozen, but we still get a slight snow flurry. And it does feel cold, but the one thing that certainly catches my kids out is the drop in temperature and the rise in temperature, and it always makes them feel a bit sicky. They always seem to pick up colds around that time when the temperatures are changing. And obviously in schools as well, it's going to be going around a bit more because all the other kids are having the same. And because their bodies just can't regulate to that sharp change in temperatures, it's always around that time, at least twice a year, that my kids seem to get sick. And again, having a big family, once one gets it, it's boom, 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 boom through the whole family, and then mum and dad get it towards the end. So, you know, as I said, the extreme temperatures, not just the extreme heat, but the extreme change in temperatures as well, can also be a bit difficult to handle for some of the little ones. And, you know, again, I just want to make sure that you're aware of that. The next one is going to be crime rates. And, you know, this is something else that was also important to me. And, you know, I hadn't really visited Vegas too much as a tourist, but obviously I had an opinion of Vegas, and it was just a party city, sin city. Everyone goes there to get drunk and have a good time and gambling and some of the other things that people go there for. And obviously I expected there would be a lot of crime in the area, and it's no lie, you know, Vegas is above average when it comes to crime rates, and that can also be off-putting. And if you look and do your due diligence, you'll see a lot of the crime is condensed in, you know, real area around the strip and the downtown area. That's no surprise. That's A, where the majority of people are, and B, where the majority of people are drinking and having a good time. And sometimes things are going to happen when people are a little bit drunk and they're not in control of themselves. There is going to be things that happen. And on the flip side of that, when people are drunk, other people might try and take advantage of that. And so there are going to be a lot of crimes on Vegas as a whole when you look at the stats. But when you look at where it's dotted and the types of crime, you'll see a lot of it is in a real condensed area. Now, there are going to be crime spots all over the Vegas area. Some parts of Vegas are going to be better than others. Again, if you want more help on that and talking about safety in neighborhoods, and you want to, you know, I really want to be in a safe, peaceful neighborhood. Again, I'll put my details on the screen. Just take a screenshot, give me a call and text or an email whenever you're ready. And, you know, I can certainly have a conversation with you. And just by talking to you, I can definitely pinpoint some great neighborhoods for you as well. Also, Henderson is constantly rated as the second or third safest largest city in the whole of the US. And again, there is crime in Henderson, don't get me wrong. It's not crime free, but it is a lot safer, and it obviously has its own police department as well. So it's separate to the Las Vegas Metro or North Las Vegas police departments. So they have their own city to deal with. So when you look at the stats, you know, look at them from a top view, but then also dial in and look at what areas that you might be potentially living in, and then get that more underground view as well and see, you know, maybe you've had a couple of home break-ins in the last 6 months as opposed to, you know, gun crime or real violent crime and things like that that are going to be around on the other stats as well. So again, just do your due diligence, do your research. You know, it's something that I did a lot before I moved over here. There was no videos like that, so I had to do it all by hand on Google, and it took a lot of time and a lot of figuring things out. So if you want to benefit from me doing the hard work, and you know you get to benefit from it, then you know please do reach out, because if I can help you and make it a lot easier for you moving here, then you know that's what I'm here for at the end of the day. The next reason why Vegas or Henderson might not be good for you and your family is it's a very transient city. And I know a lot of big cities are like that. You know, a lot of people are just coming and going. But if you know, it seems to be a real struggle in Vegas. You know, there's not too many neighborhoods that have a real strong community. There are a couple of exceptions to that. Inspirada is really a great community. Cadence is a great community. Sky Canyon is a great community. Rhodes Ranch has an also really good community as well. So there are some exceptions to that, but in general, it's a very transient city, and it's hard to make lasting friendships sometimes because people are here for a year or two and then they go off somewhere else for whatever reasons. Might be work, might be they can't stand the heat, can't stand the bugs, whatever it is, can't stand the crazy drivers in Vegas, which I can totally empathize with. Whatever it is, you know, people leave for all different reasons. And when you've got a family, and again, speaking from experience, my 10-year-old has struggled with this a lot. You know, he would make friends, and quite often then a year or two later, they've gone, they've left, and now actually he seems to be a bit more reserved and in himself because he doesn't want to make the effort, as he sees it, in making friends, because he says to us all the time, when we say to him, go and make some friends in the neighborhood, and it's like, Mom, Dad, they might leave in a year or two, so what's the point in making friends if they're just going to leave me? And, it breaks my heart hearing him say that. We try to overcome that. We try to, certainly have some parties when it's birthdays and have some of the school friends around to try and at least have them around together. And it's hard as a parent though when you're trying to encourage your kids to be social and make friends and everything that you want your kids to have, and they're put off because they know in the past that their friends have left where they're living. So definitely I think it can be a struggle. You can make your own community as well, and I've had people move here who've made the effort to go around knocking on everyone's door in their community, and they made the effort to make their own community, and that's worked out really well for them. But obviously that takes a lot of time and effort as well, which as parents sometimes we just don't have that time and effort. So I can totally understand there. But again, just something I want you to be aware of, and if it does come up with your children, or if you have any ideas of how to combat that with my 10-year-old, then please pop that down in the comments below from a parent to a parent, because I definitely want to help him through it, but I don't want to be too hard on him either and push him too much. So yeah, definitely if you can pop anything down in the comments to help me out on that one, I'd appreciate it. The next one is going to be the gaming culture and the prevalent gambling and adult entertainment that there is in the city, and there's no getting away from that. It is a great city to visit as a tourist. Actually, I've come to love the area, and there's so many things to go and see and do as an adult. I also strongly believe it's a great place to raise a family, and I've done a separate video on the reasons why I believe that. This video is just the other side of the coin, so that you get to see both sides, and I'm not just being overly positive. I'm going to give you some of the struggles that we found with our family as well. But obviously some of those things can be, a bit off-putting, let's face it, as a parent. I mean, I don't want to walk into my local grocery store and my kids are looking over at the gambling machines and wanting to play it because it has all these flashing lights and everything else on there that catches their attention. Equally, some of the things that you would see on the strip, you don't really want your kids seeing that as well. So, sometimes it's like, cover your eyes, which can be a bit hard. So I totally get it. It can be very off-putting, as I said, as a parent. But then it just comes down to you and your parenting style and, how you can best protect your children. And we try not to have them out and around those areas where possible. And that seems to be working well for us as a family. Obviously, we live in Henderson and it's Green Valley, which is a great area for families to live, I think. So there are ways around it. You just got to really be careful how you manage things. And I said, if it's going to be off-putting for you, I can totally understand that as well, because it's not really like that in most cities, I believe. The next one is going to be the employment opportunities and future employment opportunities if we're thinking of the kids as well. The majority of jobs in Vegas and Henderson are going to be centered around the entertainment, the service, the hospitality industry, and that obviously makes sense. That's our big money maker as a city. But when you've got a workforce that is centered around one major industry, and if that industry was to fall out as it did during COVID, it could have really adverse effects, and it could affect a lot of jobs and a lot of people's incomes, as it did during COVID when everything shut down and then reopened, but was reopened with restrictive opening as well, and not everybody was brought back to work. So when you're relying on one industry mostly, then that can be really, really difficult. Now Vegas is expanding, and there's a lot of really great businesses that are moving to the area. There's a lot of great employment opportunities that are moving to the area. So it is getting there. It is getting more better in terms of the future employment opportunities. But if we're looking right now, it's not really a huge different types of careers that are on offer. When you compare to some cities where you could have loads of different career paths, Vegas could be a bit difficult there. But as I said, they are making inroads. It is definitely growing. There's definitely things going on around the city that are definitely helping that. But at the moment, the most likely job that's easy to walk into is obviously going to be in the service industry. And not many kids grow up and say, I want to be working in the service industry. I know my kids all want a variety. Actually, that's a lie. One of my daughters wants to be a Starbucks barista. As she knows, I used to be a store manager in Starbucks, but the rest of them want to be either YouTubers or a sports star, or one wants to be a ballerina. So no one really wants to grow up and wait tables. It's not seen as a cool path. So, and I'm not knocking those industries. I've got a great respect for the service industry. A lot of my work prior to being in this industry was in that industry. So I have a huge respect for that industry. But I know when I was growing up, I didn't want to work in a store or in a restaurant or in a Starbucks place. I wanted to be a soccer player for Aston Villa, or a championship tennis player playing at Wimbledon at this time of year. So, you know, I know it's not what a lot of kids want to do, and that's where a lot of our jobs are. But as I said, there's more and more places that are moving to Vegas and opening up businesses in Vegas. So definitely, I don't think it's going to be like that in the long run. The next one is going to be the scarcity of water and the potential long-term scarcity of water. Now, I've done a separate video where I covered my thoughts on the water in Vegas, and obviously the Lake Mead levels are going down, and we are in a desert, so obviously our climate doesn't lead itself to generating a lot of water for itself. And I think in general, maybe the water levels are not what they used to be. But at the same time, I do know the Water Authority, the Southern Nevada Water Authority, have done a lot of measures, a lot of things in place to protect our water supply for many years to come. I'll try and link down the video that I did on it, and also the link where I get my information on it from. You know, I go direct to source and not what the news are saying or anything else. I'll see what they are saying, and I've seen a lot of it in action as well. I've seen a lot of people have removed turf from their backyard and taken a rebate on that as well, so they're not using a lot more on their irrigation. There's obviously restrictive times on that you can use your water irrigation systems, and obviously it's never on a Sunday, and then depending on the type of the time of year, and where you were located, you can only water on certain days. So you definitely have to make sure that you're aware of that. Any new pools are going to be restricted in size as well, so unless you're buying a home that already has a pool, if you want to buy a home and put a pool in, it's going to be restricted in size as well. And there's a lot of other measures that are in place. A lot of the ornamental grass is coming up as well. And as I said, you know, they've done a great job in really difficult circumstances. I definitely don't think our water supply is in any danger, but I know as a parent, when you're thinking about moving to an area and you're thinking about putting long-term plans down and, you know, planting yourself in an area you don't want to move again in another few years, thinking about the water supply is obviously going to be a big concern, and I totally can empathize with it. I'm not downplaying it. All I can say is that I believe that we're going to be okay. And again, I always say this when I talk about the water and Lake Mead. You could watch this video in another 5 years and I could be completely wide of the mark, and you can point at me and laugh and say I was so wrong. And, you know, feel free to come back in the comments in 5 years if I was wrong. Equally though, come back in 5 years and comment if I'm right as well. But I believe, from everything that I've seen from the Southern Nevada Water Authority, from everything I've seen out and about on a daily basis, I believe we're going to be okay water-wise. We do get water from the Colorado River and Lake Mead, but we're not the only place that does as well. You know, California, Arizona are also served from there. And as I said, you know, they've done a lot of good work to try and protect our water supply on a Vegas level, and also where our water is coming from. So definitely check out the links down below on that one. And again, if you want any more details on that, then my contact details are below, and just reach out to me. The next one is lack of green spaces, and obviously we're in a desert, so we're not going to have the lush rolling fields of some of the cities, and that goes without saying. You know, a lot of our general landscape is going to be all desert landscape in brown rocks, sandy, that sort of thing, and completely understandable because of where we are in the country. There are some green spaces. There are some places that are a lot greener than others. You know, Summerlin, for instance, is only it's a large master plan community, but it's only a master plan community, and that has over 250 parks, which is incredible. Henderson, as a city, has around about 60 parks, which is fantastic as well. Lots of parks within those two areas. Other parts of Las Vegas will have parks, and in general, maybe your local neighborhood or your local, you know, the greater master planned community of where you are will probably have a park as well. But no matter what, if you don't live in an area that has a park, you can go and use any of the other parks within Las Vegas and Henderson as well. Once it's not within a gated community, but if it's not a gated community, then you're free to go and use them. Sometimes when I'm showing homes in Inspirada, we'll go and look at the parks in Inspirada, because they've got some really cool parks in Inspirada, and they've got different themes in there as well. And, you know, the homes in Inspirada, their yards are a lot smaller. The caveat to that, though, is there's so many parks with different themes that there's a lot of things to enjoy outdoors there as well. So a potential lack of green spaces from the outside could look like it could be off-putting, but I can tell you there's a lot of parks in the area. There's lots of walking trails, there's lots of great nature, lots of great cycling trails as well to go on, lots of great picnic spots when the weather's not as hot as it is now to go and enjoy. And we have some of the best sunsets in Vegas, and, you know, having a picnic at sunset is definitely a nice romantic treat, and watching the sunset on the mountains, You know me and mountain views, I'm a sucker for those mountain views. Stick a sunset on top of that, I'm even more of a sucker. So on the outside, as I said, it could look like there could be very little green spaces, but actually when you're here, there's so many green spaces to go and enjoy. I don't think it is going to be an issue. And then the final one is going to be public transportation, you know, in terms of availability and in terms of just in general, the public transportation in Vegas sucks. I don't think we have a great public transport system. I don't think compared to some of the other cities, you know, they have a really great public transport system. Certainly when I visited other states as a tourist, it seems to be like they have a much better system than we do. Obviously we have the buses, and they can be hit and miss at times. If you're not, depending on where you're going in town or where you need to be or where you're working or where your school or college is going to be, you could have to get 2 or 3 different buses, and those routes don't cover the whole of the Vegas area either, so it's very restrictive. So if you're going to be relying on public transport, I think you're going to really struggle. You know, I think families that don't have cars or access to a family car are going to really struggle living in Vegas. Uber and Lyft prices are really, really high as well at times, and certainly when the surge pricing is on, it's even more expensive going by rideshare as well. So in general, if you have a car, I think it's very easy to get around. We don't have too many traffic jams. There's a lot of congestion now where there's some construction going on some of the freeways. Obviously, there's a lot of construction going on around the Strip area, getting it ready for the F1 as well. So there are little bits of the town that are going to have construction and some traffic jams at the moment. So you might run into a little bit of congestion, but in general, Vegas is so easy to travel around. Most of the time, if I'm going from Henderson to North Las Vegas, it doesn't take me more than 35 minutes. Going over to Summerlin takes me about 25 minutes, to the Strip about 15 minutes. So it really is not really difficult to get around if you have a car. Just if you're a family that's going to try and rely on public transport, then it could be quite restricted. It's not a walkable city either, so it's going to be very hard to walk to your grocery store, walk to your school unless you're going to be quite close to the school, or walk to where you're going to be working. So those things could be very difficult as well. If you have a car, then you'll be fine. You just need to pay attention to the roads. And you know, the one tip I always give everyone that I've noticed here is when you're on a filter light turning left, just give it a couple of seconds after that turns green and let the cars pass, because some of those drivers coming the other way just don't pay attention to that red light, or they're in a desperate need to beat the light and get stuck at the next light, at the next crossroads. And I see so many accidents happen when it turns green. The car goes to turn as it should, and the other car hasn't stopped, and you know, obviously it's not a pretty sight. So definitely just give it that little couple of seconds, just make sure there's no more cars coming, and then go. Let Bob behind you beep you if he needs to with his horn. It doesn't matter. But that's my tip of the day for you. I'll let you have that one. And that's it, guys. That's my 10 reasons why I don't think you should move your family to Vegas. Now, honestly though, from my heart, I believe Vegas and Henderson are great cities to raise a kid and raise a family in general. I really do, and I've done another video explaining all the reasons why I believe that. But I wouldn't be doing my service to you if I didn't give you the balance of the scales. And I'm not saying my points are right or wrong. This is just what I've experienced as a parent living in the Vegas and Henderson area. Some of you may disagree, and that's totally fine as well. If there's things that I haven't mentioned that you think I should have mentioned, then pop that down below as well. I don't get offended with these sort of things. I just know that if someone's watching these videos and maybe I've missed something, but you pop it in the comments, that's going to also help them as well when they're watching this video. So definitely do pop it in the comments. Also, if you agree with a lot of the things I said, pop that down in the comments as well, because that's always nice to hear and certainly helps the ego as well. So thank you for that. Just as a reminder, if you haven't already, then please go ahead and subscribe and tap on the bell for notifications, so you'll be amongst the first to know about the local market conditions here in Las Vegas and Henderson. Subscribing doesn't cost you anything, but it definitely helps me out and helps me to grow the channel as well. So I definitely appreciate you guys subscribing. If you did get value from this video as well, then please give me a like. That way, again, you're going to help it go in front of more people who are looking at this content and hopefully help them on their journey as well. And you know, I genuinely hope I have provided you content that you're finding value from and is helping you, whether you use me as a realtor or not. I hope it's helping you along the journey. But just as a reminder, if you are thinking about moving to Las Vegas or Henderson, then please get in touch. You can give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email, or we can jump on a Zoom, and all those details are down below, and I really would love to help you out on your move here to Vegas. Those of you who have already reached out, I thoroughly appreciate you guys reaching out. I love the conversations we have. I love that our personalities always just click. I don't know what it is about the people that contact me from these videos, but our personalities just click, and we have such great conversations, not just real estate based, but just on a personal level. So I definitely love you guys for all reaching out. Obviously, you can hopefully attest to what I'm like when you do get to contact me. I'm the one who answers my phone. You get to speak to me directly. I'm very involved in my business, very involved in the process. So the content that I give here is just a little snippet of what it would be like working with me. So if that sounds like something that you would want from a realtor, then definitely do reach out. But until the next time though, guys, thank you so much for watching, and you take care.